on September 24th, 2022 from 5 o'clock p.m. to 9 o'clock p.m. Trivia's Inspirational Radio presents the second annual Community Awards Banquet. Come out and support the encouragers as they celebrate these amazing nominees for their efforts in their communities. Sponsorship opportunities and tickets are still available. For more information, please call 443-810-6231. See you there.
All right. Well, hello. Okay, here we go. Well, hello, my name is Laquita Parks, and this is another episode of The Power of Your Story. And I am the CEO and founder of T.R.I.V.I.A Publishing. And T.R.I.V.I.A is Pain, Progress, Victory, because I believe without pain, there is no progress. And without progress, there can be no victory. And I'm excited today because I have somebody special in the house. None other than Mr. Calvin T. Man. And this is one of my buddies. And I absolutely love his platform. I absolutely love what he does. I love I love the message you're spreading. I love the lives that you are touching. I just absolutely love it. I'm a fan. I am a fan. So we're going to dive into some conversations, but listen, I help people take their stories from a thought to a realization, no matter where they are in the story writing process. And your story is powerful because 100% of everybody living and dead has a story. And this show is all about inspiring, motivating, encouraging people because there's somebody waiting on the other end of your story so that they can get healing from their story. So Calvin T. Man has an amazing story and he has an amazing platform. And listen, y'all ain't ready. Y'all ain't ready. That's what I said. So listen, grab a seat, have a listen. And for those of you who are listening to the replay, you'll have an opportunity to reach out to Calvin Man. And for those of you who are listening live, if you have a question for Mr. Calvin, please make sure you send a message and we will do our best to answer those questions while we're live. So without further ado, Mr. Calvin T. Man, how are you? I love your background back there. You play
piano. That's me dreaming, Laquita. That's just me dreaming, right?
You know what I'm saying? I know that's right.
Right, that's me dreaming, right?
Yeah, do you play the piano?
My dad did. I
Okay.
just sing, right?
Okay.
You know.
Okay.
My
You
brother
sing,
brother plays the piano.
Okay, but you sing.
Yes.
Yes. I know. I know
Yes,
you
ma'am.
sing. So introduce yourself to the world and tell us who you are on the Power of Your Story, Trivia's Inspirational Radio.
Well, my name is Calvin T. Man. I am known as the National Encourager, right? And I I inspire, uplift, encourage, love, and more importantly, I do the work. And very proud of doing the work. Some people say getting it from the mud, and got a big vision, and so just growing and making the process happen. However, God see fit to manifest the next levels. That's what we gonna do, right? Meantime, we just keep our hands to the plow and keep it moving forward.
I love that. So, Calvin, how did you get started? I see you got your EMIY shirt on. Encourage Me, I'm Young. How did you get started? Um, before you answer that question, tell us where you're from.
I am officially from Detroit, Michigan.
All right.
I grew up in a small suburban area on 8 Mile between Detroit and Ferndale. So I got a little bit of Detroit, I got a little bit of Ferndale, and I'm what you call an 8 Mile baby. And Royal Oak Township shaped me, made me the person who I am. My story is one of what they would call perseverance. It's another one of being able to get back up when you get knocked down. Um, I come from two giving parents who left a little too early,
Mm,
and was just celebrating my dad's birthday the other day. Motown pioneer, and people talk. I say he didn't get his acknowledgments, but he did his thing, and all of his sons, regardless to how life took him, all of his sons are good fathers.
good, good. I saw that. I did see that on Facebook.
Yeah, and my sisters are good parents, and we all, that's what my whole family is about. Everything we do is about family. And but for me, it's funny, Laquita. Whenever I tell this story, I always ask, "Do you want the long version or the short version?"
Well, listen, we got an hour, so you give me the version that you want to give me. Leave us some space to talk about some other things, but you give us the version you want us to have.
So it was my godfather, Jim Curry, who gave me a whistle, and I became a successful coach at 20. And at that process, I began to mentor, coach, started going to coaches clinics, and then I became the youngest varsity basketball coach at 23. I've always been someone, as my mother would say, a philosopher. My mom used to tell me, "Go sit your philosopher ass down." Right. Well, turns out, I was blessed with that gift to have philosophies and to be doing some things like they did, right? And encouraged me. I'm young was given to me in 1992, and our basketball team benefited from the messages. And then in 2004, I decided I was going to make it a clothesline. And 2007, God walked a nonprofit in my life. And since then, we've impacted over 22,000 youth, 68% male.
Oh wow, that's I love it. I love it. So Calvin, when so what was your I know with the coaching, so I know you have a ton. You have Encourage Me, I'm Young, you have the Good Fathers, you have the Suicide Smash Suicide, and we'll get into that in a minute, campaign. But what made you say, okay, this is what I need to be doing? Because there are a lot of times that we see the vision. I was having a conversation with a lady this morning, and I remember probably about 8 years ago. I remember sitting down in a meeting and was talking to her about my mentoring programs, and I remember saying to her, my mentoring programs are so great. They need to be in every school system in the nation. And she remembered that conversation, and I told her this morning, I said, well, I just finished a training for an organization in Duluth, Minnesota, where my mentoring programs will now be in their. And she was like, wow. So sometimes when she was like, sometimes, we're already destined to do these things. We just have to find it. And sometimes we run from it. So how I know you've shared some of the story with me before. But take us back to the story about how you started with the t-shirts, and how you were almost kind of like, nah, I ain't gonna do that. But you were led to go into we led to go into a direction. We want to go left, but we get that tugging to go right. And sometimes we like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and go right when that's the best thing for us. So tell us
Well,
about that story, how that came up.
so I actually was going to be a comedian. So I was reading the
I can
newspaper,
see
right?
that. I can see that.
Right. I was reading the newspaper, and I was going to be a comedian, but every time I picked up the newspaper to read, I would come across kids being killed.
Mm,
right? And so I started talking to everybody, and it was my brother was the first one, my young brother. He said, "Man, you got all that experience, right? Don't be part of the problem, be part of the solution." I said, "Man, you say that because you getting paid. You a college coach, right? This getting out here ain't like that, you know." And so then I got a call from one of my best friends, Big Will. He called. Remember, you said you was gonna make Emmy a clothesline, right? So I found myself okay, looking and searching, and then it was another incident where I was headed the wrong way. Excuse me, and I heard God's voice, and I got out the car, and I told him, I said, you better listen. And so I began to pray, and all of a sudden, I had one affirmation. Then I was taking my hair out of my head again because I used to be so egotistical. I would braid my name in my head, right? And so here I am in the car with a friend of mine, and the words come in, time is all we have to change what we are. And I freaked out. Now, I never told you this story, right? So I freaked out, Laquita, right? I wrote it on the paper. He was going to closing, right? And I wrote it on a piece of paper. I said, that's the first shirt. That's the one I'm going to use to leg shirts with kids getting killed. So I didn't know how to print. So I went and volunteered at a local print shop in Ferndale on my off days. And I taught myself through the process how to print. So then when I did the shirts, they still charged me full price, whatever. I printed them myself. So the very first place I laid a shirt was at my half brother Courtney. His nephew was murdered taking the garbage out. And that was the beginning. And that's how I ended up realizing that this was my purpose because remember, it was given to me in 1992. I didn't know what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
I was in an all white daycare
Mm-hmm.
when God gave me those words,
Mm-hmm.
right? I took it to my uncle and our basketball players and the whole nine. So we impacted that whole school.
Mm-hmm.
We went from just 30 kids trying out for the basketball team to having 100 kids try out. They just wanted to be a part
Mm-hmm.
of what we was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how we got here.
Mm-hmm.
I realized that it was purpose.
Wow. So then how did the good fathers, how did that come about?
That was along the way. Um, I I began, saying the slogan, if you weren't a good father, I wasn't messing with you. But I said it in the street sense, right? So if you weren't a good father, I ain't messing with you, right? So one of my first questions is always asked, are you a good father? And so when we got ready to do the work for Emmy and everything in 2008, I had came up with a design. A friend designed it for me, and then we was on some super dad stuff. But then when I took it to the lawyer was like, we was like, I was like, I did research too. So the day before I took it to the lawyer, I designed the GFO,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and I took it in. I was like, here we go. And so,
Wow.
and that was the process. But Good Fathers Only really is about waking up people to understand how important dads are.
Mm-hmm.
That a lot of times we act out of system damage. We act out of what society tells us about men and fathers,
Mm-hmm.
not
Mm-hmm.
realizing we're literally killing a lot of kids without fathers,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? And so that's the reason why I push so heavy because I know that we're in this, how do you put it, syndrome,
Mm-hmm.
right? When you can say we go to welfare syndrome, when you can say how many kids is born out of wedlock syndrome. These are
Mm-hmm.
all syndromes that has been developed through the process of removal of the man. He
Mm-hmm.
was constantly under attack
Mm-hmm.
years
Mm-hmm.
upon years. So a lot of people don't understand what men go through because they don't even really know their value. And even when a man doesn't understand because he's only been taught one way. So a lot of men, they will champion women and not even champion themselves.
Mm, mm,
Champion yourself and champion your demographic, you can help women. And that's
mhm.
what I chose to do.
It's you and I have conversations all the time, right?
Yes.
And I was having a conversation with somebody today, and we always talking about boys and fathers and men and women and the dynamics. And I asked the question, and I asked this to a friend of mine yesterday, but I asked the same to, and this is a female, so I asked this question to a friend of mine this morning, male, and I said, let me ask you a question. I said, why is it that and when I say we, I'm generalizing, not personalizing.
Right.
When I say why is it that we coddle our boys and raise our girls? And he said, what do you mean by that? And I was like, we coddle our boys and raise our girls. I said, I see that so much. And I said, I'm not saying I did, but I'm saying that I see that with a lot of people, where especially in single households. And he said, I wasn't raised that way. And so looking at the generations, we're in the same generation.
Mhm.
And no, I said, well, I was raised by a single mother, and she had three girls, but my uncles were not that way. They were movers and shakers. They were not that way. But
Mm.
I see a lot of it. I see a lot now where the women, you got in a household, you got a parent that has a boy and a girl, or a couple girls, couple boys, whatever. And you see you look at the scope of it. The boy isn't pushed enough, but the girl is. You're strong, you can fight, you get up, fight. And the boy it's almost like passive kind of thing. Well, it's okay if you don't. And we've had those conversations before. So what do you think about, what are your thoughts on that? Because I know you're real strong on raising boys to be young men and to be good men. So what's your thoughts on raising our girls and coddling our boys?
It's part of it is, again, the syndrome, the process, not having the knowledge of how important men really are, not
Mm-hmm.
having the knowledge of, right, looking at a young boy as a paycheck in the system, seeing um, our boys being in that environment, not realizing that sooner or later they will emulate the environment if it's not tough enough, right? So that's why they go out and get in the gangs, because if they're in too much of a feminine environment, it impacts them. We
Mm-hmm.
like to think that that's not the case, right? We like to think, we'll say, well, didn't I raise my son, right? And we'll isolate. But what they fail to realize is we're not giving any credit to the coach. We're not giving any credit to the male teacher. We're not giving any credit to the male mentor. We're not giving any credit to the drunk or the one that passed the information for him, to him, and for him. We're not giving any credit whatsoever to the male in our words, in our deeds, and our actions. And
Mm-hmm.
so, therefore, our boys are growing up with this idea that they're not valuable because of a paycheck. See,
Mm-hmm.
we like to think that um, a lot of people are starting to avoid the child support system. A lot of couples are starting to do that. But we like to think, we want to be vindictive. Had two parents on the phone the last couple of days. The father talking. A lot of these men, they just talk because that's all they ever had to do,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they just talk, right? And then they're able to say, "Oh, it's all her fault," the whole nine, never having any accountability. Then when you hear the story from the kid's perspective, he was never around, right? He just was
Mm-hmm.
talking, and then he was just blaming. Oh yeah, it's your mama fault. But I didn't take that route. If
Mm-hmm.
you got my son, I'm gonna figure out how to be with my son.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not communicating with me, that's on you. I got to figure out how to be with my child. Why? Because he got to
Mm-hmm.
get some of this.
Mm-hmm.
This is what he got to get. He don't need no more of you. He needs some of this, right? And
Yeah.
what this is guidance and tools and life changing and life saving. And but we don't have that. That's why I wrote the book 15 Things.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many things that people don't even understand how important men are. We think a man is a penis, a paycheck, right? And provide, right? If he don't do none of those three things,
He ain't
we
no good.
already know he ain't no good. We are so
Mm-hmm.
limited. But again, when we look at the suicide statistics, 63% of all suicides is the largest number.
Mhm. Mhm.
63% of all suicides come from fatherless homes. Are
Mhm.
you in a fatherless home? Are you demanding that the father participate in his kid's life?
Mhm.
You the one we laid down and had this kid together. You got to come get him and teach him. Now,
Mhm.
you can't come get him and teach him how to get high.
That's right.
You can't come get him and teach him how to sell dope.
Yeah.
You can't come get him and teach him how to be a hoe. You're not improving nothing.
Mhm.
And if you are living those things in front of him,
Yeah. Yeah.
you're damaging him.
Yeah.
Because then his opinion of women, like you see right now, you see how these boys think the opinion of women?
Yeah.
Because they've seen it with their own eyes, have their mothers have lived in front of them. And that's why they make the decisions that they make and talk about women. And they will select that type of woman. So if you're not a high quality, well respected, have standards as a woman, he's gonna select the type of woman he see. That's why you keep seeing the men get in these relationships with, because oh yeah, she reminded me of my mom. What
You
woman?
know, you know what? I'm sorry. There, you said a mouthful, and I hope that there are a lot of women who are listening, because um, when I grew up, I always heard boys love their mothers, right? And it was very very rare to see a boy disrespecting his mother. And when I saw that, immediately I said that mother has done something in the eyes of that child to make them disrespect her. And Calvin, I was a single mother. I was married, and it didn't work.
Right,
And he was absentee.
right,
My So I have three children, and I raised them by myself. But I also knew I had two female children and one male. And I knew that my girls had me. My son had me too, but I knew that my girls had me. They could relate to me because I'm a woman, and I could teach them those feminine things and those, cooking and all those things. Well, I could also teach my son, how to cook and those things. But I knew that there were things about my young man that I was not able to teach him effectively. So it became my responsibility to put him in positions where there were people who I knew and who I trusted that were going to teach him how to be a man. So
right.
there were people who came who I had in my life that said, come on, go with me, and you're gonna go with me on Sundays to clean this building. Or come on outside with me while I'm fixing on this car, and let
So
me show you.
Quita, so Laquita, but that's what I want to point out. See, you said you raised them by yourself. That's what I was saying earlier. You got to give those people credit.
Exactly.
You got to,
Absolutely.
because you didn't do this all along, right?
Exactly.
It was the
Exactly.
you
Well,
know
when
my
I say I raised him by myself,
yeah.
I was in a single
It
home.
was a single
And it
home,
was,
right?
yeah, but I put,
Right.
like your people, you have a mentoring program. So
Yes.
here is a resource.
Yes.
I recognize that, and nobody can do it by themselves. And if you
Right.
say you did it by yourself, you're fooling yourself.
Right.
But you got to trust but verify. You got to
Yeah.
verify. You got to be careful who you put your children with.
Right. Right.
But
Right.
you gotta watch, and you gotta be, as women, and I'm just talking from the female standpoint. I can't do the excuses with, well, you don't, well, I can't do that. And for those who know me, they know that I can't do that, because we went to school. I went to school. I went back to school with them. I worked. They were home. They had responsibilities. They had chores. And those three children of mine will talk about it to this day. I had standards. These are the things that I chose. This is what's acceptable. No, you can't go. No, you're not allowed to be outside my house at certain time of night. No, you're not allowed to watch this. We didn't do the video games. No, you can't do this. No, you can't do that. And I was okay with, okay, whatever they're doing out there, their house, that's their house. You couldn't walk in my house. And my son used to say, he used to cut hair. My son's been cutting hair since he was 8 years old. And even with that, when he got older, I said, okay, you've been bootleg long enough. It's time to legitimize yourself. So he went to school, got his license, master barber stylist license. But my children knew, first of all, nobody was allowed in my house when I wasn't home. And when I did come home, and they would let me know, hey, I'm cutting such and such's hair. But my son would say to his friends, when my mother walks through the door, when my mama walks through the door, how you respond to her, because she gonna ask you some questions. She coming in here, she gonna sit down, she gonna have some conversations. How you respond to her determines if you get to stay in the house. And they were when I they knew it. They knew it because they prepared them. And he still has friendships with them to this very day. And they all call me Ma. What's going on? Hey Ma. But we have to, as women, and I'm talking to you women, as women, we have to know where our lane is. It doesn't mean we turning our babies over to strangers, but we have to know that we're not raising our children for today. We're preparing them for 20 years from now to be productive. So I love organizations like yours. I love what you're doing because you're putting that you're instilling that the manhood. And I love it because you're not doing it passively. You're
No.
not doing it passively. You're going in like SWAT.
Yeah.
Somebody said you kicked the door in, you tap, you knocked,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
tap.
We
So
don't.
you kicking the door in, my man.
Right.
We're not doing that. We're not doing that.
Right. Right. We can't afford. When you look at the culture, right? I represent my culture. I mentor all types of people,
Mm-hmm.
but you best but damn believe they the ones I'm mentoring gonna look like me. I'm not getting ready to be absent to kids that look like me. It's what God, the gift God gave me. He didn't give me a gift of division. So yes, I mentor white kids, Arabic kids. I mentored Philippines, right? I've mentored all kinds of kids. I've coached all kinds of kids. But I'm most definitely with those that look like me. That's just common sense.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so it's up to me to play an intricate part in turning the culture into a family set culture. While I'm here, it's up to me to do that, right? It's up to my team and people, right, to make that difference with these kids. And what happens is too many times we say things like "you're not black enough" or "right, you're not right." Too many times we always address and put labels on each other, just like you was just talking about how you raised your son and how the mothers, right, and vice versa, because the mother's not doing it alone. If an absent father, if he not really participating, you are causing way more harm, right? And so, and I'll get into that, but the real aspect is that's why in our mentoring program we use fathers. That's why we go get fathers, and I'll take a father broken, beat up,
Mm-hmm.
bring him in training, and watch two lives come up.
And that's what I
Right?
wanted to say too. Your good fathers is not where you're saying if you're not a good father, we don't want any parts of you. You're training them to be good fathers. You're helping them to get the skills that they need. So talk about that, because sometimes when people hear, because I think we talked about that before when you were doing the shirts and the man was like, no, I'm not a good father. And you were like, no, 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 we gotta change that. Remember you told me
Well,
that story.
right. So Good Fathers Only was really originally about celebrating fatherhood, right?
Mhm, mhm,
Swag it, enjoy it, right? Be proud, you know. That's what Good Fathers Only was all about, right? When you see another good father, I got great stories of when men see each other in the shirt, how they instantly bond. Everything we do brings people together. When somebody else sees somebody else, I just received a picture from one of my former coworkers where his daughter is on a 3-day trip. She's in the encourage me, I'm young. She talked about how all the kids just, he just texted me. All the kids are just going crazy. They want the same hoodie she got, right? The process, everything we do brings it together. So the fatherhood piece is a hard piece because this country attacked and experimented on black fathers first,
mhm,
right? And so when the country did that, uh, we bought in. Think about all of us that bought in. So when you see old movies, you see, right, all they pushing be gangster stuff,
Yep. Yeah.
hoishness. When I was coming up, it was Rudy Ray Moore, right? And that's the only movie you could see at the Fox Theater. Rudy
Mm-hmm.
Ray Moore, Mac Truck Turner, was all violence. It's all they
Mm-hmm.
gave,
Mm-hmm.
right? I can't come across. Even the Cosby was silly, but it was violent too, with him and the other brother,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? Sidney Poitier, right? So I saw that's all we was given, right? But in my household, right, when my mom and dad split, in my household, we had to go to the library, right? But the process is we don't focus on the things that the boy needs. So if you damage a boy, you damage a man, you
That's
damage a
right.
husband, and you damage a father.
That's
So
right.
what you're doing is creating a reciprocal process from what their intent was when they experimented on black men, black fathers
Mm-hmm.
coming down the pipeline. But they had no idea that the same system was going to turn on all fathers.
Mm-hmm.
So now you see parental alienation at a very high rate, all cultures, white men, black men, don't matter, suffering from parental alienation, can't see their kids, being denied access to the kids. I mean, the stories I have of women going to court telling lies, they got 4 or 5 chances when they go to court to lie. Now, this is an involved father. If a father was not really trying to be his kids, they do everything to get that kid to that man, and he ain't nothing. But the man that fights to be with his kids, you should see and witness the stories and the things that they take these men through to be dead. And
Mm-hmm.
then when they get to a certain age, the kid is damaged.
Mm-hmm.
So part of what you're seeing is you're seeing the success of women in education because what was the target? The failure of the male
Right. Family union.
family union, and where is he at?
Mm-hmm.
Prison, jail. This is his economy. Death, prison, jail, violence, right?
And
Failure.
the cycle. The
It's a
cycle.
cycle.
Keeps going.
Multiple kids out of wedlock. That's me. But in that process, my man always said, "Cal, you messing with church money?" I said, "I ain't messing with nobody money. They don't give a damn anyway. I'm just doing what I'm told to do." Culturally, like I told you, Laquita, 37 years of working, I really believe we do not care about our black boys.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's hard to say.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm saying in 37 years of being in this area and watching this, I ain't got no choice but to believe that.
Well, you can't deny what's right in your face.
You can't deny it. And so that's why I turned up even more. That's why we pulled out this RV. That's why we gonna pull up on them. That's why I was at a school earlier today, and they were in there and they were talking. And you had guys in there that been to prison. They had like over 300 years worth of men in the room. They gone to prison,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they were talking to the kids, and they made a just a little bit of crack, and that's when I jumped in. Hey, listen here, you ain't never got to go to jail.
Right.
I'm 30. I did 37 years. Everybody like you did 37 years. Yeah. Out here making sure you don't go to jail.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
37 years of making sure that all my men, all my boys are husbands and fathers.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I chose to do. I didn't chose to go that route. That's why I read. That's why I get even more because I'm not going that route. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
participating in that. Right. And that's what we have to decide. Right. What do we really want for our children? We sure got enough for our girls.
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
we give our boys violence, so
Mm-hmm.
you're making them weak, so they don't know how to persevere, they don't know how to endure,
They don't know how to take care of
they don't
themselves.
know how to take care of themselves, and so you let them make the decisions
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
like this your man. And
Right.
so the conversation that you have for your man is the one you're supposed to be giving to your husband, you mean to your son, because he's supposed to leave and go out in this world and be productive and become a husband, become a father, and keep it going. You keep the son and push out the husband.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
your conversation is you keeping the man with all the treatment that you're supposed to give him. You keeping your son with all the treatment you're supposed to get a man. So
You know,
you
I
don't
told
even know how, you don't
yeah,
even know how to. right? So the
It's
merger is bad.
yeah, yeah.
The
And why
merger
are
is
you
bad.
having conversations? I tell mothers, why are you having conversations with what goes on between you and your mate, your husband? That's not your child's business.
Right.
You don't, they all in your business. That you don't have any business discussing your relationship. And that's what a lot of women do. A lot, and
Men
men,
do
there are
it.
men that do it too. They
Men do
do
it.
it too.
Oh
They
man,
mad
look
at
here.
the mama, so they have
Look
a
here.
conversation with the child about what your mama did or your daddy did. And all it does now is like children do not have the mental capacity to understand all of the foolishness that's going on. And what you've done is you've screwed up their head. And then they start thinking it's their fault, and then they start doing all these things and having these behaviors. They can't rationalize what's going on. They can't verbalize it, so it comes out in the behavior. And then you like, I don't know what's wrong with my child.
Well, if they're in the environment, right? As long as a kid is still in that environment, he's going to adapt to the
To the
environment that
environment.
he's in. So he might not say nothing because
Hmm.
this is his security blanket. I get what I want. I ain't got to really go to school. I get to make the decisions.
They're not gonna challenge me.
She not gonna say nothing to me, right? And in that process, right, what you gonna do? After a certain while, you whooping him, you're
It
not gonna get nowhere.
ain't- Mm-mm, mm-mm.
Whooping a child is not teaching a child.
Right.
Teaching a child might be the best whooping you can give a child. You see, by
Hmm.
sitting down and teach them.
Hmm.
Right, your son is being babysitted by an addiction. If he come from two addictive parents who smoked weed a lot, and he was born, he has addictive behavior.
Right.
Right,
Hmm.
so there are a lot of households that get high with their kids, right? And their kids get in the car smelling weed, go to school the whole nine. Well, guess what? When they hit the high school, it's about 50 kids that's been through the same thing. So
Hmm.
guess
They go
what they like?
migrate to them.
Hey, what's up, dog? Hey, how you doing? Oh, dog, we about to go smoke this joint before school. Nah, you might dodge it the first two times, but that third time you going. Why? Because my parents been
Hmm.
getting high in front of me.
That's what I
There are
see.
things that we are not supposed to do in front of our children. But the things that we're supposed to do in front of our children is teach
Mhm.
accountability, teach high character, teach care and love, teach guidance. Uh, go get them. Got to have a go getter's attitude. Be creative. Find a loving relationship. Right? Don't be out here. I told my kids, don't be out here being no hoe. I did all that. Yeah, it ain't no reward. Don't do that. None of my kids are hoes. And that's because they were taught. You had to wait till you were 16 to date, right? But no matter what the circumstances was with their mothers, right, I'm gonna be involved. So
Mhm.
everybody know. Get yourself together because dad might turn the corner. So I'm right here.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So
I used to tell. So you can't see this wall right here, but there are some grooves, and it's not smooth. Some bumps and some bruises in here. And I used to tell my daughter all the time, there are bumps and bruises and grooves. You see the grooves in the cement. You see the grooves on the house. You see the. I said that's because somebody else has bumped their head already. You don't have to do that.
right.
You don't have to, just like you said, you don't have to go to jail. I've been doing this time for 37 years so that you don't have to, so you can get out of the way.
Oh yeah.
But I wanna talk for the last few minutes that we have. Kevin and I met through a podcast show with Kevin Vaughn, and that was the first time. It's been a little over 2 years, about 2 years ago now, when you. This was the first time when you said you talked about there are, and I remember you. Tell me if I'm wrong. During this time, it was right in the midst of the pandemic. I think the pandemic had really just hit, and they were still trying to figure out. They didn't have no vaccination. Everybody
Right.
was sheltering in place. Everybody got real comfortable with the Zoom and the virtual meetings and all that. So it was a good thing because a lot of connections were made. And I remember you saying that the suicide rate had escalated for young boys between the ages of 5 and 11. And I remember that day, and I was like, what did you say?
Yeah.
And you said and I could not fathom, and it was something I never thought about. So you don't know what you don't know, and until the information comes to you, and if it's some information that comes to you and it causes a reaction, then you have a responsibility to do something. And I said, what? I said, boys. And it just blew my mind because I never thought about 5-year old committing suicide. And I remember that because then I started to do the research, and we had more conversations, and I'm like, why would a 5-year old? And then it dawned on me, during that time they're home with their, you said that they're in the home with their abusers. They don't have an outlet. They feel, and it just went on and on. And from that day to this one, I am very, very serious when you're talking about children, and children are here, and it's like, okay, there are signs. Talk to them. Listen, what are you doing? We have to do something. So talk to us. You have something called um, smash suicide,
Yeah, we
and
winning.
you do these. So talk about that.
So I started the Smash Suicide campaign to raise the awareness. There were a number of sisters out of Baltimore that was involved, Philadelphia, when I first launched the Smash Suicide campaign. My Be Me family. And as a matter of fact, we did 9 billboards this year in 9 other cities, including Baltimore, Maryland, out on their the big freeway. It's on their digital board. We banged the message to raise the awareness, but we're saying, when we say smash suicide, we're saying smash suicide with encouragement. We winning. I haven't
Mm,
lost a boy, thank God, in 37 years. No kid has took their life
gotcha.
or died by suicide, right? What are
Mm-hmm.
we doing that's different? I don't know all the specs, excuse me, around suicide. I get as much information as possible. We partner with CNS Healthcare to help us do the boards. We just got a grant, so in January we're going to continue to do more billboards. Shout out to the foundation, Flynn Foundation, so we can continue to raise the awareness because we're out here, as my son even talked about it today, but we're out here and bodies is just dropping. Like you
Mm,
just said about the guy that told you while he was talking, 22 boys took their life. So we like to think that it's all that men walked away. So let's be clear: men die by suicide. The number two way for men to die after divorce is suicide,
mm,
right? Men die by prostate cancer, colon cancer, heart attacks, strokes. Men go into comas. We not just walking away.
mm-hmm.
In
Mm-hmm.
fact, majority of the men are involved with their children. And you're starting to see even more and more of the statistics change. If we just answer some of the Census Bureau, you would know that there are a lot of men who even have custody of their children,
Mm-hmm.
right? And raising their kids and protecting them. So the Smash Suicide campaign was to raise the awareness. Since we started in 2020, though, Laquita, suicide jumped from 800,000 worldwide to 1 million people died by suicide a year, right? Now, we can attribute it to a million things,
Yeah.
right? But that chunk, 63% of all suicides come from fatherless homes. Excuse me. That's a big chunk.
Mm-hmm.
If you got 100% suicide, 63% all suicide come from fatherless homes. Um, it's not, as I spoke at the Father's Day event, I said this and I'll share this again with you. Um, God told us to find a wife. Preparing a woman to be a wife is not something we do today, right?
Mm-hmm.
She's prepared to go get an education in business, right? And she's prepared, right? So we see these dynamics. Uh, what is the boy being prepared for? What is the man being prepared for? So
Mm-hmm.
we're still hanging on to the tradition. So I explained that, Laquita, you can get your dream, and I could still be your mate.
Mm-hmm.
We got
Mm-hmm.
to get out of this space that I have to be dominant,
Right.
right? That you have to do what I say, and you don't even know who you really are.
Mm-hmm. Mhm.
You have no idea. You just going off of perspective. Well, God say, "He who findeth a wife
Find a
findeth
good
a
thing.
good." What what does a wife look like? If you're not training a wife, how does she learn to be a wife?
Mhm.
Because what are they looking at, Laquita? They're looking at women like their mothers.
Mhm.
So that's why you see a high turnover. Oh yeah, well, she reminded me of my mom. That's why I did it. Or she, okay, but your mom wasn't a wife,
Mhm.
right? That wasn't the case. You didn't learn from that environment. So then, in swoops, people who have been married, in swoops, women who understand, that know how to listen to a man. And so now that man is gone
Mhm.
because over there she was able to listen. She was able to do certain things where me and you, we couldn't merge good.
Mhm.
Maybe it was our zodiac sign. You know what I mean? Maybe it was the fact that, we just come from two different environments. Things that we're supposed to discover about each other in friendship.
Before, yeah.
Or in friendship. We too quick to get to the bed. And we think
Yeah.
if I give
Yeah.
a man my body, all of a sudden that's way more valuable. So I'm gonna give him my body. Now you letting him come in there raw. He's coming in there raw with all that baggage.
Yeah. Yeah.
He is corrupt. So when I told the men, right, after running off all these great things about black fatherhood, I said, well, there's two things that y'all need to understand that it is our fault. The black woman is the most divorced woman in the world at 41%.
Mhm.
And she's the least married at 17%.
Mhm.
That's our fault. That's parenting.
Yeah.
That's environment. That's not even having any kind of standard. That's the individual mindset, right? And so suicide would uptick. Just think about it. It would be out of control. You a 5-year old, you in the house, and nobody looks like you.
Mhm.
Nobody stands up to pee. Nobody, right, looks around and just be trying to process, and everybody you trying to figure some things out, and everybody walking around you. Hey,
They can't understand you and you can't understand them. It's like,
going
okay,
on?
I keep this to myself and then I go outside and I get the
And
wrong
I'm damaged.
information.
I'm damaged. And then the one piece that we never really pay attention to, right, is the Oedipus complex.
Mhm.
Boys get stuck in the Oedipus complex with their mothers.
Mhm.
So boys who take on this infatuation with the protecting them, I got you, and they can't even get another mate,
Mhm.
right? Because their mama is way more valuable to them,
Mhm.
right? They can't get that, right? Because I'm stuck in this Oedipus complex, and I have this thing about my mom,
Mhm.
and a lot of
Mhm.
times we don't understand how much damage that causes, right, to the
Mhm.
male. So
Mhm.
now when he gets into a relationship, he think if he do this, because all the stuff that his mama, like my son said something so powerful. Look with it. He said, Dad, I didn't even realize I was married to my mama till I got out the house.
Mm.
And I went through all this and I realized I thought the woman that I could come along with, talk to, I could talk to her that way because I had already built a relationship with my mama. So I thought that I could talk to this woman any old way because that's how I talk to my mama.
Mm.
He was like, and I didn't realize that I literally was married to my mama.
Wow. That's profound.
It's profound. I say,
Mhm.
son, one day I want you to say that say that in your story because it's important that you recognize that you are no longer married to your mom.
Mhm.
Every woman deserves to be known. Get to know the woman
Mhm.
because she's protecting the little girl behind wall number one. And if you
Mhm.
can't get to that little girl and protect her, you're not gonna really get her.
Right. Right. Wow.
So that's what is creating this atmosphere around boys, right? Because if they cut on TV, if they cut on the movies, if they cut, they're constantly being murdered, killed, thrown away, bad. Every now and then they'll see some, but it's so overwhelming violence that they really can't see themselves in a successful person.
Mhm.
It's very,
Absolutely.
very, very, very tough. And so that's what we come along and here's some things that we do that every household can do. Like I said earlier, one of the things that every parent should do is cut off all the media and spend
Mhm.
that 1 hour.
Don't believe that. You're right. Definitely don't believe the hype. One of the things I agree with that wholeheartedly. And we only have a couple more minutes, but talk about to these parents who are babysitting these, who are letting these children be babysat by um, video games.
Video game addiction is real.
Yes.
Video game violence is cognitively attaching itself to the mind of your child, right? If the Bible tells you that the devil is coming after your mind, pimps tell you if I get her mind, I got her body,
Mm-hmm.
right? Education says if I educate you in this field, in your mind, I can get you to do what, right? All
Mm-hmm.
these things. Reading, same thing. So video games, in my opinion, which when my oldest son, I broke the video game just to get him out the house. The mother that gave me the video game, I challenged the young man that gave me the nonprofit. I challenged the young man, which was the more important to you? Is it the dream that you are playing on the video game, or is it the dream that you really have
I know this
outside?
is live. I have my little coworker that just got here, so she's staying with me for a minute. So this is my little coworker.
Okay, hey, little coworker,
This is
right?
Gabby.
Hey,
Her
Gabby,
mom
and so
stuck her.
so your dreams, which what is real, right? And so video gaming gives them a sense of like they're really into, and this is who they really are. If you ask any young boy, he's chunky, he's overweight, I guarantee you he's on a video game,
Yeah.
right? And the parents are allowing him to make the decision. You say, oh, come on, you going to basketball practice? Nah, I don't feel like it,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
If it's too tough on the sport, it's so tough. I really don't. So you teach them to quit. You move them.
Yes, it's too hard. It's
It's
too
too
hard.
hard,
They don't,
right?
and you know what, Kevin? Do you agree? When they start quitting one thing, they just keep quitting.
Oh yeah, yeah. Because you mark it. See, you mark it. It's marked in your life. And so how do you overcome? Because it's gonna show up again. And every time, because that's what God do. Until you conquer what he put in front of you, you can't go to the next level. So
Mm-hmm.
life is like a video game.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot go to the next level until you conquer what's in front
Right.
of
Right.
you. So them kids where you got to go to school and they act out. You just seen that boy in the 8th grade, video game addiction, the phone, took
Mm-hmm.
the phone out of his hand. He was willing to fight.
Mm-hmm.
They're killing for that. You've seen on several occasions where you could take it to the mass shooters.
Mm-hmm.
Mass shooters, all they did was, when they first started in Colorado, what was they doing? Playing video games all day.
They don't, and you know what? And and it's funny because the more that they go through it, the more the perception of reality starts to kind of disappear. And as they grow up, I know people who, I call it babysitting the kids with the video games because they're glued to it. And now you have the kids that are with the growing up with the iPads and they're glued to it. And not only does it affect their growth, it also they don't have soft skills. They can't communicate. They can't, they don't know how to talk to one another.
Yeah, they don't know how to do that. But the real part falls back on the parenting.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the parents, right? After a while, the parents say, "Oh, that motherfucker, he don't be," they go cussing. He ain't gonna be shit. You see? Oh yeah, yeah, he ain't gonna never be. All he want to do, y'all, that's on you.
Mm-hmm.
That's on you. You
Mm-hmm.
talking about what he don't want to be? You did a horrible job
Mm-hmm. You know.
because you're supposed to be. If you shut that down and teach, and you constantly involved with teaching, like you did,
Mm-hmm.
the outcomes are far. One of the greatest things you talked about is them writing letters. When the last time
Yeah.
a person, me and my wife, we talk about this, but we still write love letters,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
When the last time you wrote, she get a email message or a love letter, or, we constantly are using our words to embrace
Mm-hmm.
love and care.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, if I'm not doing that, I mean, I'm not fulfilling, right?
Right.
Right. No matter
Right.
where I'm at in this world,
That's
you
right.
know,
That's right.
I got a wife. Let me send her a message.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? But that is something that you you come to learn. It's important to get to know somebody, what they like.
Exactly. Exactly.
We still thinking prowess. We still thinking, oh yeah, I'm smashing her. I'm all of this. We still think it's just about
The
sex.
physical that we don't
Yes.
even think we're not going through the core. I want to share this quickly before we have to wrap up. One of my authors just finished a book called "Will Somebody Please Teach Me How to Be a Man?" And he talks about when his son, he would want to go get his son and go get his son. And he wanted to spend time with him, and every time he would get there, the mama would be all over the place and send him here, send him there, send him to the street. And he would say, why is he never here when I come get him? Why is he here, there? And the mama used to say, oh, he ain't nothing but a little street nigga. And he said, he was like, why are you saying that? And he said, and asked me what he is. He's been to jail several times. He has, and you just said it. We speak those things as parents. We speak those things into our children. We not only are we speaking those things, but they are living by observation.
Yeah. What she did, and I can guarantee you without even being there, what she did was she parented from problems. You just like your daddy.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
not gonna be.
yeah.
You gonna keep this up. You going to jail. She parented from the problems, right? Because she didn't care.
Right.
See, at the end of the day, I still have that as an excuse. That's why I called it a syndrome. See, at
Hmm.
the end of the day, if he go to jail, I can say his
I
daddy
told
wasn't around.
you. I told you. Hmm.
See what I'm saying?
Hmm.
His daddy wasn't around. It wasn't your fault. She could go visit him in jail. Tell you it wasn't your fault. Your daddy wasn't around.
Hmm.
See?
Hmm. Hmm.
See, at the end of the day, you still have that unaccountability in the process when it's hundreds of men out here that you can walk up to, right? Right. But you have to invest in the kid.
Yes.
Mentoring is not free on no level.
Zero. And you know what,
No.
Calvin? This is I'm so sorry. This has been an amazing conversation. The hour goes by so fast when you're having fun. Uh, listen, how can people connect with you? You got children, you got young men. You want to put them in the program. Do they have to be in? Maryland? I'm sorry. I'm saying Maryland because I'm headed to Maryland tomorrow. Do they have to be in Detroit?
You know
In,
what, Laquita? I've been working on that aspects where it would be affordable and feasible to get young men in other cities on Zoom and their parents as well. We've been working on that because the other part is getting the parent right because our work is really centered around parental involvement,
right.
right? So
Exactly.
our program is 98% parental involvement. So
Hmm.
sure, we can get the boys in other cities, and I will announce that soon. But once we start that, I'm getting the mama on and I'm getting the daddy
Exactly.
on,
You got to
right?
have the pieces in place.
I gotta have the pieces in place because when they walk away from what I'm teaching them, they can't go back into the same environment. And
Right.
that's why our mentoring program has been so successful. Our kids are not going, and I don't hold them. I
Right.
teach these boys to fly.
Hmm.
Go get it. You
So
see?
how can they connect with you?
They
If
can,
they're local, if they're in Detroit right now until the programs
they
come,
can go to
or if
the
they want to
program.
if they want to, support what you're doing and purchase a shirt, how can they connect?
They can go to emmyworld.com, EMIY World. Encourage me, I'm young world.com. Um, my books are on Amazon. My children's book is on Amazon. Things Fathers Should Say. Our collaboration is on Amazon. 15 Things You Didn't Know About Fatherhood. We got Journals for Young Men. That's on Amazon. So we are that's where you can reach me. My Facebook, my fan page, Calvin T. Man, the Encourager. Come follow every day. I'm dropping something positive and
And
solution.
that video too, y'all. He got a music video.
Yeah, I got a music video, and I just shot. My son just shot a music video.
It's nice. I love it. I didn't see your sons, but I'm talking about,
Is locked in.
you
Laquita,
know,
this
Calvin.
boy can really.
I gotta. Is it on
He's a
YouTube? Or it's
Christian
on your
rapper.
website.
No, it ain't even out yet. He's a
Oh,
Christian
so will
rapper.
I get an exclusive?
Oh yeah, you get all that. Hey, Laquita, I am so happy this boy decided to lock into his gift.
Yes.
Yes, I watched him perform at college. Everybody loved him. People were offering him money to sign. He loved the Lord so much. He had a different, but he had to go through some things to come to
Yeah.
his gift.
Yeah. I love it. I
And
love
so
it.
he's locked in, and I can't wait to drop this first video.
Well, I want an exclusive. This has been a really great conversation. And for you guys that catch the replay of this, really follow Calvin and what he's doing and connect with him. I literally call him my little coworker here. And yes, they do have Encourage Me I'm Young t-shirts this size, because she's the owner of EMIY shirt. She
That's
and my
right.
grandchildren, they rock it. They rock their shirts. So
Yes.
I'm gonna have to listen. They got big. I'm gonna have to go up a size now. So I'm gonna have to order some more from
Well,
you.
we're working on Laquita doing a whole big splash, some new partners, and Emmy Apparel going big time, having his own lane, for profit, the whole nine, sports gear, all of that. So we're working on that for the new year to launch, so everybody can have access to the brand.
Well, I thank you so much. I am a fan. I am so glad to be, not more than glad. I'm honored and blessed to be connected to you. And thank you also for trusting Paper V Publishing to publish for you.
Oh yes,
It has been a pleasure. You listen, wherever you are in your story writing journey, reach out to Paper V Publishing. We can help you take your story from a thought to a realization.
that's right.
Everybody has a story. 100% of everybody living and dead has a story. Listen, mothers, get help for your sons. Connect. If you don't know what you're doing, if you need some help, reach out to Calvin Man to get some help and let him help you with your sons. You won't regret it, because you're raising men, and these
Right.
men they're our future. And Calvin, I'm so sorry, our time is up. It is
That's okay.
always
If
goes
y'all
so.
need a speaker, hire me. I
Okay.
travel.
Okay. Hey, you heard it here. It has been a plump, pleasing pleasure, better than a triple decker peanut butter and jelly sandwich. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Until next time, be blessed. Thank you so much.
Thank you.